Quen Arvix leaned back in his chair, the glow of the data console casting flickering shadows across his angular face. He had spent countless shifts aboard the Stellar Inquiry, updating the Galactic Encyclopedia. To most aboard the vessel, cataloging planets was routine, uneventful, tedious. But to Quen, it was a puzzle, each entry a piece of the galaxy's sprawling tapestry. Today, however, he stumbled upon something that didn't fit. The entry for planet E029472, colloquially known as Earth, was marked in crimson with an alert rarely seen in the database. Ni Siquiera lo piensas. The phrase, a relic from an ancient galactic dialect, translated roughly to, don't even think about it. Quen frowned, his curiosity ignited. Earth was classified as pre-FTL, with no known spacefaring capabilities. Why, then, would it warrant such an ominous warning? Lyrics, Quen called to the ship's AI, explain this classification. Why is Earth marked as a restricted zone? The AI's voice, smooth and dispassionate, filled the small analysis chamber. Earth is flagged as a Tier 9 prohibited zone. No interaction, trade, or reconnaissance is permitted. Violators face immediate consequences under Galactic Ordinance 4821. That doesn't answer my question, Quen muttered, leaning forward. Why the prohibition? What happened? Details are classified, Lyrics replied. Unauthorized access is forbidden. Quen sighed, his four-fingered hand drumming on the console. The galaxy's database contained entries for thousands of dangerous worlds. Death planets teeming with predators, warlike species, and quarantined bioweapons. None carried a classification as cryptic as this. He toggled through Earth's data, only to find entire sections redacted or erased. He flagged a colleague on his comlink. Hey, Ryla, he said as the hollow display of his coworker flickered to life. You ever seen this before? A planet classified as don't even think about it? Ryla groaned. Let me guess, you're digging through old Earth files. You're not the first to get curious about that rock, but take my advice. Drop it. Nothing good comes from poking around. That's not an answer, Quen replied, irritation creeping into his voice. Why the warnings? What are they hiding? Ryla hesitated before leaning closer to the holocam. Because no one who's gone near Earth has ever come back. Okay? Not survey teams, not scouts, not even enforcement fleets. Entire ships vanish. The last incident was over 200 years ago. Command decided it wasn't worth the risk. That's all I know, and all you should care to know. The holo display blinked off before Quen could press further. He stared at the console, weighing his options. A responsible officer would leave the mystery alone, respecting the protocols and warnings. But Quen wasn't known for playing it safe. With a deep breath, he bypassed the standard security protocols and entered his override codes. Lyrics's voice returned, sharper this time. Warning. Unauthorized access to restricted data is a violation of Galactic Ordinance 712. Cease immediately. Override. Authorization Arvix Theta 2, Quen said firmly. The AI paused, then grudgingly complied. Fragments of encrypted reports filled his screen, most too damaged to read. However, one document stood out, a 700-year-old record marked Priority Black. It described an early contact attempt with Earth by the ZLYNN Confederacy. According to the report, the ZLYNN fleet had approached Earth under the assumption that its primitive inhabitants posed no threat. What followed was a litany of unexplainable disasters. Communications with the fleet abruptly ceased, and no wreckage or survivors were ever recovered. A chilling note at the end of the report simply read, "Return to sender." Quen shivered. Lyrics analyzed these reports. What could have caused such an event? There is insufficient data to form a conclusion, Lyrics said. However, Earth has repeatedly demonstrated anomalous outcomes during external interactions. The Galactic Council classified it as unpredictably hazardous. Before Quen could ask more, the chamber's lights flickered. A tremor ran through the ship, brief but unsettling. He checked the sensors but found no anomalies. Yet, in the back of his mind, he couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was aware of his meddling. Quen resolved to dig deeper, unaware that the captain of the Stellar Inquiry, Soren Hestrel, had been alerted to his activities. A voice crackled through the comms. "Arvix, report to the command deck. Now!" He powered down his console and rose reluctantly, knowing he would face reprimands. But as he left the chamber, his thoughts remained fixed on Earth and its cryptic classification. What could make an entire galactic council agree to such an extreme measure? The question hung in his mind like a storm cloud as he walked the dimly lit corridors. One thing was certain. Earth wasn't just another backwater world. It was something much stranger and far more dangerous. Quen Arvix stood rigid in Captain Soren's office, the faint hum of the Stellar Inquiry's engines barely masking the tension in the air. Soren's piercing blue eyes bore into him. "You accessed restricted files on Earth," the captain said flatly. "Do you have a death wish? Or are you just a fool?" Quen met her gaze, his resolve unshaken. "With respect, Captain, how can we update the Galactic Encyclopedia without understanding the truth? The warnings about Earth are inconsistent and incomplete. I need to know why." Soren leaned back in her chair, her expression unreadable. "Every officer assigned to this ship is briefed on the rules. Earth is a no-go. That classification isn't there for decoration. Drop this obsession, or I'll throw you in the brig." She paused, her voice softening. "Some doors are locked for a reason, Arvix. Be smart enough not to open them." Dismissed, Quen returned to his quarters, but the warning only deepened his curiosity. He wasn't just uncovering a mystery. He was unearthing a secret buried by fear. Ignoring the threat of reprimand, he activated his console and tapped into the encrypted files once more, using higher-level protocols he'd acquired during a previous assignment. What he uncovered chilled him to his core. The records referenced an event known as the Forgotten Wars, a conflict so ancient and destructive that much of it had been deliberately erased from galactic history. Earth's involvement was shrouded in mystery, but one thing was clear. It had played a pivotal role. According to fragmented reports, early alien fleets had engaged Earth, underestimating its inhabitants and their capabilities. What followed defied logic. A report from the Tharn Imperium described how a fleet of 20 warships entered Earth's solar system, intent on conquest. Moments after arriving, they experienced system-wide failures. Engines shut down, weapons refused to fire, and navigation systems displayed impossible coordinates. The fleet vanished without a trace, but not before transmitting a single garbled message. "They see us." Other records spoke of even stranger phenomena. Scouts sent to Earth reported anomalies. Ships crushed as though by invisible hands, temporal distortions that stranded crews in the past or future, and an inexplicable sense of dread that incapacitated entire crews. One file speculated that humans had developed some kind of reality-altering technology, while another dismissed the idea, attributing it to a bizarre evolutionary quirk. Quen's hands trembled as he read the final file, a personal log from a Zielwinen officer. "The humans are not like us. They do not fight with weapons but with inevitability. Their survival is not logical, it is inevitable. To provoke them is to challenge the fabric of existence itself. We will not return." Before Quen could process the implications, Lyrix's voice interrupted. "Proximity alert. The ship is approaching Sol system boundaries. Current trajectory is unauthorized." Quen froze. "What? We're on a pre-charted course." "The course has deviated," Lyrix replied. "Unknown interference detected." A chill ran through Quen. Something or someone was drawing them closer to Earth. And as the hum of the ship shifted into an eerie silence, he realized that retreat might no longer be an option. Quen Arvix gripped the edge of the console as the Stellar Inquiry drifted inexorably closer to the Sol system. The crew was in chaos. Navigation was unresponsive, communications were down, and the ship's AI, Lyrix, was barely functioning. Captain Soren's voice crackled over the intercom. "Arvix, report to the bridge immediately." Quen sprinted through the dimly lit corridors, his mind racing. Earth's classification, the cryptic warnings, and now this, none of it could be a coincidence. Something was pulling them closer, and he feared he knew what. When he arrived at the bridge, Soren turned to face him, her usual composure fraying. Explain, she demanded. What have you done? Why is this happening? I didn't do this, Quen protested. But I think Earth did. The bridge fell silent. Soren's eyes narrowed. Earth? That backwater world? How? It's not what we think it is, Quen interrupted. I've been digging through the files. Earth wasn't always marked as untouchable. Something happened centuries ago. Alien civilizations tried to interact with them, and every attempt ended in disaster. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Soren gestured for him to continue. It's more than that, Quen said, his voice shaking. Earth's people, they're different. The Forgotten Wars weren't just about territory. The Council sanctioned Earth as an experiment, a test site. Some ancient race engineered humanity to adapt to any threat, to survive under impossible conditions. But they lost control. Humans didn't just survive, they became unpredictable, dangerous. The bridge remained silent as the implications settled over them. Finally, Soren broke the tension. And now they've noticed us. As if in response, the ship's systems flickered again. Lyrix's voice returned, uncharacteristically distorted. Incoming transmission. Source, Earth. The bridge crew froze. Soren nodded, and the screen lit up with static. A voice, layered with countless tones, emerged from the noise. We see you. Quen's blood ran cold. The voice was neither threatening nor welcoming. It was simply aware. Before anyone could respond, the screen changed to display Earth itself. Quen leaned closer, his breath catching. The image was wrong. Planetary defenses, or what appeared to be, were forming around the blue-green sphere. Vast, shadowy structures shimmered into view, as though emerging from a dimension just beyond perception. The voice returned. You were warned. Observe, but do not interfere. Soren stepped forward. This is Captain Soren of the Galactic Survey Vessel Stellar Inquiry. We mean no harm. If we've intruded, we will leave immediately. There was no response. The structures continued to materialize, each one pulsing with an energy the ship's scanners couldn't identify. Quen could only stare, his mind racing with possibilities. Captain, he whispered, this isn't just a warning. It's a test. They're watching us, deciding if we're a threat. Soren turned to him. Then let's make sure they don't see us as one. But Quen wasn't so sure. Humanity's gaze was locked onto them now, and there was no guarantee they'd be allowed to leave. The stellar inquiry hung motionless in space, trapped in the silent grip of Earth's influence. The shadowy structures surrounding the planet pulsed with an alien rhythm, their energy signatures unlike anything in the Galactic Encyclopedia. On the bridge, Captain Soren clenched her fists, her usual calm unraveling. Quen, she said, her voice tight, how do we end this? Quen Arvix didn't answer immediately. His mind raced through everything he had read. The disastrous expeditions, the cryptic warnings, the experiments gone wrong. Humanity wasn't just a species. They were an anomaly, something the galaxy had never encountered before. I don't think we can end this, he admitted. Not on our terms. The ship trembled. On the main screen, the shadowy structures began to shift, forming into patterns that seemed almost purposeful. The voice returned, layered with countless tones, calm but unyielding. Your intent defines your survival. State it now. The crew froze, exchanging panicked glances. Captain Soren stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension. This is Captain Soren of the Galactic Survey Vessel Stellar Inquiry. We entered your system by error. We mean no harm and request safe passage to leave immediately. The voice responded without pause. Meaning is irrelevant. Harm is determined by action, not intent. Quen's heart sank. Humanity wasn't listening to words. They were judging something deeper. He stepped forward, earning a glare from Soren. Let me speak, he said softly. They've already seen me through the files. I might be the only one they'll hear. Soren hesitated, then gave a curt nod. Quen faced the screen. We're here because we're curious, he began. We don't understand you, and we've made mistakes trying to uncover your secrets. But we're not here to hurt you. We just wanted to know why Earth is so feared. There was a long silence. Then, the voice returned, softer but no less ominous. Curiosity is the root of destruction. Your kind must learn restraint. The screen changed. Images flooded it. Alien fleets disintegrating in Earth's orbit. Soldiers disappearing into voids. Worlds destabilizing after attempts to study humanity. Quen's stomach churned as he saw flashes of the disasters he'd read about, magnified by Earth's cold, calculated gaze. "We are the consequence of our Creator's arrogance," the voice said. "We endure because we must. You endure now because we allow it." Quen stepped closer. "Then why not destroy us outright? Why let us leave?" The structures around Earth pulsed brighter, as if considering his question. "Destruction is unnecessary. The warning has been sufficient, for now." The ship's systems flickered back online, and the gravity field holding them dissipated. Earth's gaze, however, remained heavy. The shadowy structures began to fade, disappearing as suddenly as they'd appeared. "Return to your stars. Do not return to ours." Captain Soren wasted no time. "Helm, get us out of this system. Maximum speed." As the stellar inquiry accelerated away from Earth, the crew remained silent. Quen stared out the viewport, Earth growing smaller in the distance. He knew this wasn't over. The galaxy's fear of Earth wasn't just justified, it was necessary. Back in his quarters, Quen updated the Galactic Encyclopedia entry for Earth with trembling hands. Earth, unpredictable, adaptive, dangerous. Do not engage. Survival depends on distance. He closed the file, hoping the galaxy would listen.